Hey everyone, welcome to Big Red Homestead today. Oh, it's the last game of the year for now.
Maybe.
Nebraska versus Iowa. And today we're going over the X factors, the predictions, the keys to the game, and everything you need to know going into this Iowa game. So it's going to be a blast. Caleb, how you doing?
You know, I'm doing great. Happy Thanksgiving week, everyone. I hope you all have something to be thankful for. Spend time with loved ones.
My list is short this year.
Hopefully, maybe it's not football, but I hope you get to spend time with loved ones, with family. Hope our travels go safe for every one of you guys.
Hopefully Brian and Kirk Ferentz are spending a lot of time together.
Yes, they really got to cherish these moments because it's almost over for them too. So, I hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving week. It's a fun tradition. We get Nebraska, Iowa this week, and we're feeling pretty good because for 365 days Nebraska has beaten Iowa. So we're hoping we can carry that for another season and also get us to a bowl win. Don't talk to me about Wisconsin, though.
Right. Well, that's bad news. Bad news. Because unfortunately, because of our schedule this week, we weren't able to get out a Wisconsin breakdown video. So I do want to talk about Wisconsin a little bit here and some of the things that we learned about this Nebraska team. I mean, what was your biggest takeaway? Let's just do like one or two huge takeaways from the Wisconsin game. Obviously, CHUBBA PURDY would be kind of the start there with seeing him for a full go, or should I say Taylor Martinez in the first plays or the first drive. Absolutely insane. What are your thoughts on CHUBBA?
Yeah, I was really hoping with that 55-yard touchdown run, we got like a little Taylor Martinez repeat where,
breakout.
It's like the breakout game where he just runs for like 3 touchdowns. He's really fast. I think that's the first thing. His top end speed is definitely faster than Sims or Harvard.
Where was that all this time?
I don't know. And then, he threw some good footballs at times, and he only had one turnover at the end where he kind of had to put the ball up in the air. That's the biggest thing, right? So you feel good about that in a lot of ways. So that was a huge takeaway for us. I mean, the offense, I think we tried to do a little too much with him. It's like we saw him hit that great Jalen Lloyd pass, and then it's like, oh man, we're now going to go crazy.
Right. I mean, again, Satterfield dropped back with him like almost 30 times in the game, and he ended up throwing the ball, I think, 24. And so, that is way too much for my liking with this offense. And again, we continue to get away from what I think what everyone agrees is our strengths, which is the running game, the option game, the power running game. I mean, maybe part of that is because Satterfield thought that PURDY had a different set of skills, a specific set of skills, and that maybe we had an opportunity in different areas in the game. But in my opinion, like, you've got to stick with what works here, and continuing to try to force the ball downfield with our receiving core at this point is risky to say the least, especially when we talk about Iowa here, considering how good their secondary is. It's unreal. I mean, Billy Kemp ended up with 8 receptions, which was like a team high this season, so that was exciting. But dude, the offensive line even played a decent game. That's just crazy we couldn't move the ball better against Wisconsin.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It was frustrating. I think the other thing is on the defensive side, Wisconsin's line outplayed our defensive line in a lot of ways. They pass protected so well. We just couldn't get to the quarterback enough. We had a couple sacks, but we didn't really have enough hurries on them. We allowed Graham Mertz to do too much, and the thing that we worried about is Graham Mertz.
What video are you watching? The wrong viewers are like, am I watching the wrong video right now?
Tanner Mordecai. Tanner Mordecai's legs absolutely just murdered us right at the end of the game. Josh and I were really worried about it going into the football game, and the fact that he had 50 yards it hurt us.
Yeah, I mean that was exactly the worry, right? We weren't sure how the linebackers were going to deal with that. I mean, we've known the whole season that that's been where we've struggled. Is the more dangerous a quarterback's legs, the more likely their offense is to convert on third down. And that was literally the backbone every single time. I mean, how many times did Tanner Mordecai convert on third down in that game? It was at least like 3 or 4. And
3rd and longs too.
So many. And so
that's how they beat us in overtime. It was 3rd and 10.
Yeah, exactly. And so, those X factors are there. And obviously you could talk about the decision making and all those things we talked about in the Patreon film breakdown, by the way, if you want to go check out that reaction. But Yeah, I think from the offensive wise, I was still a little bit confused at why Emmett Johnson didn't get the ball a little bit more. I mean, basically they split the carries 13-12 with Anthony Grant, which again, the offense did take care of the ball. I mean, that was not the issue. The issue was the consistency on first and second down. We couldn't find ways to get 3 yards on first and second down half the time. How many times were we in third and longs, you know?
Yeah, especially in the second half. The first half, it looked nice, and we were moving the chains a little bit, and then it was just 3-and-out city in the second half.
Yeah,
I just, we were willing to throw it. The runs that we were choosing were not going anywhere. It felt like that Wisconsin was reading us really well, and that was what had happened the last few games too. Wisconsin really locked down in the second half. That's the other thing is, Brian Buschini played an absolutely terrible game. He had 2 punts that he had a low punt that essentially allowed the punt to be like 12 yards because they returned it for so many. And then he had the 19-yard punt that bounced backwards. That was just really bad. Last year, as the season went on in those cold games, his punts had been looking nice. And you're like, oh, he was, averaging over 45 yards a game. And that has not been the case this year. Brian has not looked very good at all.
No. So with that said, I think we can kind of get into Iowa game. We'll talk a lot more about some of the other takeaways probably sprinkled in throughout in the predictions video and X Factors. So with that said, Iowa, the Hawkeyes, are now 9-2. Somehow.
Boo.
They've eked their way through the Big Ten West, the dominant Big Ten West. And they lost to Minnesota 4 weeks ago, 12-10 on the controversial punt return called back that everyone probably saw.
Tried to cheat.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he tried to cheat. He was pointing and making signals.
Jedi mind tricks. Yeah, but nope, called back for loss 12-10. And then they beat,
it should be.
And then they beat Northwestern 10-7, Rutgers 22-0, which was an impressive game, and then Illinois 15-13 in a really close one all the way through. So there was a lot there. I mean, even in the Rutgers game, it was like 6-0, near the end of the third quarter. It's not like they were dominating by any means. The fourth quarter got away from Rutgers and they started turning the ball over, and that really was the difference.
Couldn't get off the field.
Their offense was just terrible. So with that said, I mean, right now heading into the game, Iowa in power rankings, Iowa is 21st graded power ranked. Obviously, they're also ranked 16th. And Nebraska's PFF power ranked 67th. So, pretty average, middle of the pack. Right now, PFF's only giving us a 38% chance at a bowl game. Things you hate to see. I mean,
there's a chance.
Considering the Vegas odds right now, which is absolutely crazy. Right now, Iowa opened at only 1 point favorites and 1.5 depending on the site you're looking at. But now the line, just in 24 hours or so, has been betted all the way to Nebraska being favored by 1.5 points. So, oh no, here we go again. So, and the points total, unfortunately, did not break a record. It opened up at 29.5, which is only the third lowest of all time or something like that. So, unfortunate. I know.
I was really hoping.
But it has been bet down to 27.5, which was the record-breaking line last week in the Rutgers game with Iowa. So some fun stuff there. So obviously, with that said, let's head over to the offensive side and start here with Iowa. What do you think about this juggernaut of an offense?
These PFF stats jump off the page on how good they are. I mean, they are 118th in the country in points per game. They're 132nd in the country in yards per game at 246.6. We're flirting with them. Our offenses are equally great. They're 86th in interception throw percentage. Just a bunch of stats that, you love to see. They do rush the ball a lot, which is not surprising. 57% of their plays. We are very similar, but they aren't nearly as effective at running the ball. They're under 120 rushing yards per game, while we are, we're over 180. So,
right.
It starts with their quarterback. The situation happened this year. They brought in Cade McNamara. He was out, season-ending injury. So who do they have? None other than Ben Roethlisberger reincarnated himself. Except not as good at football. Deacon Hill.
It's like a future Ben Roethlisberger, like a 55-year-old Ben Roethlisberger reincarnated himself as Deacon Hill. It's something else. Hill. It's something else.
He is 160th graded out of all QBs, out of 164. He is 134th quarterback when under pressure, and he's the 156th quarterback when kept clean.
He does work, baby.
When blitz.
So, So yeah, I mean, Deacon Hill does a lot. I think it is interesting, though, when you watch him on film, he does actually move the ball downfield, and he can make plays and make throws. It's just that he's extremely inconsistent, and inside the pocket, he definitely doesn't use the most fundamental play, especially his footwork can be iffy at times at best. And he has a fumbling problem as well. So those are things you love to see with Deacon Hill when it comes to opportunities for Nebraska. But he's probably at his best off play action, where when he can throw in rhythm at the top of his drop back and hit. And that's where you find him hitting receivers in stride and actually looking pretty good. But basically anytime he's disrupted or has to make basically any type of quick read or quick throw is where he really, really struggles.
He turns the ball over 9.3% of the time when blitzed, which is great. That's his turnover worthy play rate when blitzed, which is very exciting for us. So
second highest in the country.
Yes. He has 882 yards on the season. He has 86 of 173. So he completes the ball less than 50% of the time. Again, just things we'll have to see is 5 touchdowns thrown to 5 interceptions. He is not a threat on the run game. He has negative 88 rush yards on the season.
Actually crazy.
Actually, because sacks.
Right.
So that's another just great thing is we've seen a lot of dual threat quarterbacks that have been a problem for Nebraska, but that is not the case for Deacon Hill. He is a sitting duck back there.
Even not counting his sacks, he only has 11 yards rushing on 24 attempts this season. So that is wowzers.
I think he got his a whole 11 on one play too.
I mean, it may have been. So yeah, he is the least threatening of any quarterback we've seen by a mile this season on the ground, which is, I mean, that's where you get excited. Obviously, we'll talk about that in the X Factors and bring it up again. So, I mean, yeah, Deacon Hill, he can do enough to get the ball moving. Really, they want to run the ball. They have a decent jury of running back options. And I mean, I would say none of them really stand out. Like, they're not going to tear you up on the ground, but they definitely get the job done for sure.
Yeah, LaShawn Williams is their lead carrier this season. He has 668 yards. His average is a respectable 4.8 yards a carry. And then next, Caleb Johnson, who was kind of the lead back last year. He has 385 yards and 94 carries on the season. Still over 4 yards a carry. He has more touchdowns than Williams with 3, while Williams only has 1 touchdown. Again, their offense just really hasn't been that prolific, but they're good, solid Big Ten running backs that you would expect. They're not top of the pile. This isn't a healthy Braylon Allen or even, Reggie Love or, some of those dudes on Northwestern. But again, they're solid enough running backs that they will be a problem. And, their biggest threat would have been Eric All this season, but he tore an ACL. And he's still the leading receiver, even though, we're this far away
weeks ago.
Game. Yeah, he has 299 yards. Next is Raganini, who has 213. So,
yeah, I would say Raganini's probably their most dangerous playmaker on the edge. They usually find him in space, or he's pretty good towards the sidelines as well. So I think Raganini definitely is the playmaker. They also last week were really trying to get the ball outside. I think they hit a few more screens than they used to, and so there's a lot of different things they've been trying to do. Their offense definitely looks a little bit different than the average Iowa offense of past years, I think, because they have a little bit less confidence in their ability to run the ball than years past. And we've seen some strange formations from them where they like pulling a tight end into the backfield and having 2 fullbacks, and they run this a lot. And they'll run play action out of it downfield. They'll obviously run off tackle and make plays and use them as lead blockers. And so they do try to switch it up and give you some different looks there. Some strange looks, to say the least, in the backfield.
Yeah, definitely. That was very interesting of them. Again, they're trying to get any push they can. Their offensive line hasn't been as dominant as these other Big Ten West winners of the Iowa Hawkeye teams. They run a lot of I formation. I think our defense is going to be pretty comfortable with a lot of these formations that we see from them. They did go empty set a couple times, which was pretty hilarious on like 3rd and short situations.
Yeah, they do it actually is more than you think they might, on like 3rd and short. And they definitely run a lot of end arounds as well and sweeps to convert on 3rd down. And so that's something you're going to have to be looking out for as well, for sure.
Similar to, again, what a lot of Nebraska has run, a lot of I formation, just trying to get anything to work like Nebraska has, and being, gimmicky or, old fashioned, throwing these different formations that are unusual, which has been semi-successful for Nebraska. Iowa's trying to do a very similar thing.
Yeah, I mean, from their offensive line perspective as well, I mean, just like in last year as well, their offensive line and pass blocking especially was not great. And this year, Right now, they're 84th in pass blocking efficiency, which is a pressures allowed on a per snap basis, basically weighting towards sacks. So not great. Basically around right where Nebraska is. And then they're also 56th in team run blocking grades. So they're just pretty average down the middle there in the offensive line performance this season. And that translates to a pretty crappy offense and a really inconsistent offense at times that struggles to move the ball downfield. Sometimes they catch a little bit of fire. And we saw Deacon Hill. I think he started off the game. I mean, there was like a stretch where he had like 8 or 9 straight completions. Was that against Illinois? And definitely looked solid. So they can make plays, but at the end of the day, when you talk about Iowa, you're here for the defense. And this defense locks you down, forces you to earn every single yard, keeps you out of the end zone, makes every scoring opportunity difficult. Tell me about this defense, baby.
Exactly. Everybody's like, oh, man, Caleb, Josh, this is great news. We're going to beat Iowa this year. And if you just look at their offense, you would say 100%, no worries, lock it in, we're beating them. The problem is, for just as bad and dismal they are on offense, they're the antithesis on defense, as they're as elite as it comes and as stout as it comes on defense, which we've seen the last few years from Iowa. But it is even more exaggerated this season. It is even worse this year. And their defense, again, you go through all those grades on the great stuff they do. They're second in opponent yards per play, only 3.9.
3.9.
They're 5th highest overall defense in the country, according to PFF. They're top 5 in most of all of these categories.
Yards per pass, 4.8 yards per pass. That's insane.
The only good thing, the sliver of hope for their defense in every good category that they're in, is they're only 105th in sack percentage. So they only have one guy that has over 5 sacks on the season, and a lot have less. And so that's what's really exciting for this team is they're not amazing at getting to the quarterback. They're just so good as a secondary and so solid that so much of it is coverage sacks. There's just nowhere to throw the ball. And again, their linebacker play and everything else, it just starts top down when they're that efficient. It's just a giant problem because they can play you so close. They can press man. They trust their guys so well.
It's interesting, though, because it's like they're definitely not taking the risks that other teams might be willing to take. I mean, they're only 108th in takeaways per game. That's really uncharacteristic of an Iowa defense. And but I think part of that is because they're actually 4th in penalties per play. So like they're really disciplined in that regard. So they're obviously not trying to get too grabby. They're not trying. They're trying to avoid giving you those 15-yard free plays. Like you said, I mean, their thesis on defense is to make you earn every single yard, and they do a really good job of that all the way across the board because they're so disciplined in coverage. Just extremely, extremely fundamental. They have so many playmakers across the whole secondary.
Yeah, I mean, there is so many guys to name. Sebastian Castro, their corner, he has a 90 PFF grade, which is crazy, but he's one of the best zone coverage players in the country. He has 48 tackles on the season, and he has the most picks on the team with 3. He has 7 passes deflected as well. So just super tight coverage, been really impressive. And their safety, Xavier Nwankpa, too, just another fantastic player. Great time. He can cover anybody. He's sometimes up in the slot in free safety. He's great in zone. He's great in man. He's just a problem all around the board. He's just a problem all around the board. And you can keep naming these guys too, because it keeps coming up. Obviously, Cooper DeJean was another one was probably their most, prolific in taking the ball away. He got hurt this season. He will be out for the rest of the year. And he was kind of the other X factor on the punt return. So
that's one drop of sweat that you can wipe off the eyebrow,
Yeah, so another reason why you could be like, oh, Nebraska, there's another chance there. Cooper DeJean, he's very scared of playing Nebraska. We all know.
Yeah, he just does everything to not play against Nebraska.
2 years in a row, he's like, dude, I couldn't handle Trey Palmer. There's not a chance I can handle anybody this year. I would just get cooked. So that's why he's sitting this one out. Sitting it out. That's the other thing is like this team, I mean, they're good in both zone and man, and they have players that specialize in each. Like you said, I mean, linebacker Jay Higgins, right now they have 2 players in the top 4 highest graded coverage players in the entire country out of all defensive positions. So Jay Higgins and Sebastian Castro both are tied for 3rd
with the highest graded coverage players in the country. So they lock you down, and those guys are great in zone. I mean, Higgins is one of the best, highest graded players in zone coverage. He's all over the field. And like you said, in Wonkpa, I mean, my goodness, insane as well. I mean, 19th best in snaps per target in man. So they just do it all. And like, not only that, but like even Quinn Schulte, who's had injuries and hasn't played the whole season, like he's great as a walk-on. He took the ball away in a few games this year as well. And he is the 10th best snaps per target rate in the country. So they lock you down and they force you to just beat them by 1,000 cuts if you're going to score anything. And
you're so disciplined. Yeah,
it's impressive, like you said. So with that said, let's head into the X factors here and talk about some of these matchups. I mean, what comes to mind we're here with how this Nebraska offense can attack this stout Iowa defense?
You have to go best, I think. And so it's our run game is what has gotten us this far this season on being a good team. And, you know, I think that's what it's going to come down to. How many creative run plays can we do? How much fast developing plays can we go? Because we need to be quick with this team and decisive. And, you know, they don't give up a lot over the top. So we're going to have to take our shots well when we do and be smart, because we just can't. While they aren't great at turning the ball over, we can't force our own personal mistakes on offense.
And when have we ever done that?
A lot. Sadly, a lot. So that's what it's going to take. It's going to take a lot of discipline on offense. Our offensive line is going to have to play, I think, just out of their mind, especially on the run side of the football, which we've been better at. I think there's another level which they can continue to attain. I think Emmett Johnson and those guys, you know, and then trick plays, man. We have nothing to lose. We have everything to gain.
Empty the
this
cabinet,
season.
bro.
So yeah, everything that you got, every single trick play you got, because, you know, we're going to see, you know, Iowa, this is late in the year. We're going to see gimmicky stuff from them too. They're going to try and win.
Can I interest you in an onside kick when we're up by 10?
No, I will turn that. If we're up 10, I'll ride with our defense and the guys we got. But, you know, if we're down, you know, maybe call me up. I'm interested.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, on offense, and then, you know, CHUBBA PURDY. Let's see what those runs can do. I mean,
right.
That's what it's going to be.
Let him cook.
Let him cook. Let him cook with his legs, especially.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Iowa's their strength is their secondary. Obviously, their run defense is no weakness. They're 12th in the country in yards per rush. You don't want to throw at this defense. You really don't. So.
No,
you have to play to Nebraska's strength and just hope that we can find a way. And really, like you said, it comes down to taking care of the ball. I mean, we're looking to win this game, not by both teams are looking for the same formula to win this game here. It'll be a miracle if this game has over 35 points. So it's like, you're just looking for a defense to find ways to take the ball away. So, I mean, in that case, like you said, obviously the biggest X factor here is how Nebraska's defense can get to Deacon Hill and take the ball out of his hands. I mean, Deacon's had fumbling problems when he gets hit. He hasn't been as much of as problematic in turning the ball over through the air, but when it comes to getting hit, he is a liability. And good news is that he's a pretty big target. So, you know,
yes.
Like that's a pretty exciting situation for Nebraska.
Yeah,
right.
Ty Robinson and Nash Hutmacher, they're going to be able to get home. They haven't, you know, we've been playing fast quarterbacks where they're getting the backfield. They wreck the play.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's a throwaway because they can't get to him. Ty Robinson and Nash are going to be able to get to Deacon Hill, and they'll be able to chase him down. Every player is fast enough to catch that guy. So that's what's exciting for our defense is all 11 dudes will be able to feast on them.
I was going to say, which game do you think probably most similarly aligns with how we're going to have to scheme against this offense? I mean, in my opinion...
Northwestern?
Really? I mean, maybe I could see that. Because I mean, are you more inclined to send pressure in this type of game, or are you more inclined to like keep the game in front of you?
Nah, you mean you stack the box, right? You trust a lot of those guys. I think our corners have played well. I don't think any of their weapons are dangerous enough that I think one safety sitting back there will be okay.
You trust the safety to hunt down the run if they rip off a 15-yarder, 20-yarder?
100%. I expect Marquez Buford to absolutely lay the wood. I expect this team to be physical. Exactly. I think our defense, this game should really excite them.
I want to see Marquez Buford they
can wreck the game.
Eliminate Deacon Hill. Well, honestly, I don't know if we want Deacon Hill to get hurt.
I know facts. Honestly, I don't know what they have behind. Honestly,
that's scary. But yeah, I mean, like you said, the opportunity is there for sure. I agree. I think you have to play aggressive in this game. You have nothing to lose, and go for broke. I mean, realistically, I don't really see a narrative for Nebraska to win this game unless we force 3 turnovers and we hang on to the ball. Like a 3-to-1 turnover ratio here. I mean, we saw how Minnesota beat Iowa. It was 4 field goals, 12-10. You know,
and they were long field
Illinois,
goals.
They nailed 2, I think 40+ yards. One was a 50+ yarder to stay in that game. And so it's going to require you to convert in special teams. It's going to require you to manage the field position. Preach. And I mean, special teams alone is probably an X factor in itself, obviously, because of Iowa's punting situation.
They have a great punter, but I think it's more for us. I mean, the field position game is everything in a game like this, where offenses are going to be stagnant. It's the better punter, and I think in a lot of ways, and the better kicker are going to win out the day. And the problem is the punter is already kind of checked off. That's Iowa's. So Brian Buschini is going to have to play a heck of a game. I mean, he played terrible. I mean, he's one of the key reasons why we lost to Wisconsin is, I mean, he had 2 punts that were less than 20 yards.
Yeah.
And in the second half, and those started the drives off. We can't be giving teams easy field position. I mean, we have to have 40+ yard punts, and to have less than half of that was incredibly disappointing, and one of the key reasons we lost last week.
I was just gonna say, as much as we like our matchups on the defensive side, at the end of the day, Iowa has their bread and butter, the matchup they like the most, the special teams. And you know, right now we're only making 61% of our field goals this year, which is 108th in the country. I mean, Iowa hasn't been great by any means. I think they are 74%, so 68th in the country. So that's at least, they're not like Iowa kickers of the past that literally don't miss. You do expect Iowa to be able to hit those 45, 50 yarders if you give them the field position to do so. And, you know, there are pretty high odds they'll have a chance to do that. So that's where you have to get a little bit worried. Okay, with that said, let's go into the predictions and kind of expand on some of these X factors inside the predictions here. So give me your narrative. What are your thoughts? What are you worried about? What are you watching? How does Nebraska win this game? What goes wrong? What goes right? Give me the whole narrative here.
The better defense wins, and the less bad offense wins.
Analysis.
In short, that's the thesis. I think that our defense plays into the hand better for the matchup. Iowa's secondary is what is so good against us. But again, as I've been saying this season, if you don't throw it, the problems can't show up.
Pick it.
They can't pick it. And their secondary can't be the problem. Minnesota, the game that won, they went huge sets. Lots of O-linemen, big running plays, only a couple wide receivers.
Clock.
And then 8 clock. And that's how you win this game. And you hit 4 field goals and you win 12-10. That is the formula, the recipe for winning on offense. And I think that we can do it. I think we have a better run team than Minnesota. I think our offensive line can do the thing right. I think
a better
we can
running quarterback.
We have a better running quarterback. I'm excited to see the option. Go big sets. And I think our defense, while their secondary is good, if you don't play into their hands, they can't beat you. So I think it's all on Marcus Satterfield this week. How can we run the ball effectively?
Don't say that.
It is. It's on Marcus Satterfield. No. The blood, again, will be on his hands for this team. But I think also our defense will have more of an opportunity than they've had all season to wreck this game with Deacon Hill. I think that our defense,
exciting.
The takeaways will be there. We will be headhunting this team. We're a physical, dominant team, and I think we're more physical. We can be more physical than they can be in offense. I think we can meet the intensity. If we can meet that, if we can meet the dominant contact, I really like our odds for our defense this year because I think they can get those turnovers. They can make Deacon Hill's life absolute chaos for 60 minutes inside of Memorial Stadium. And that's what gets me hyped because I think our defense, they played great, but there's just been, the Illinois game, it was the blocked field goal touchdown. And I think that we have that chance again. We have that opportunity for a scoop and score for that pick six this week more than we've had. And so I think that's why Nebraska can get this done. I think we play ultra conservative ball and then our defense, we let shine. And I think we win. I think we win this game 10-3.
Damn.
Go Big Red.
Oh man, 10-3.
And that 7, by the way, is our defense.
Wow. Okay. Insane. I mean, I agree with a lot of what you said. Obviously, I love the matchup here. You're right. This is where the defense could wreck Deacon Hill, and the matchup
they should be so excited
juicy.
This week.
The matchup is so juicy.
Be so excited.
I mean, yeah, you have to be salivating if you're anyone on that front 7, even the safeties, to go out and make plays, corner blitzes, anything. I mean, Penn State beat Iowa 31-0. That defense got home.
I think our defense can shut them down too. I think we can. We're going to blitz hard, and we're going to stack the box.
You want to know how many turnovers Iowa had in that game? 4. They fumbled 4 times. That's how you beat Iowa, right?
And guess what? If Deacon Hill has to make those fast passes, maybe they hit sometimes. But you know what else hits? Maybe a pick 6, because our quarters can jump those.
And they almost had one in the Illinois, or no? Was that which game was that? One of the games.
Illinois.
I think it was the Illinois game. It was nearly a pick 6 at the goal line. Like there was some. They can get into trouble. So I agree. Like the narrative is extremely exciting. Obviously, the risk is the debate is whether or not we actually turn the corner on the offensive side and we can actually protect the ball. The counter argument is that we literally just did play a game where we protected the ball for for all 4 quarters. We protected the ball and we still lost. Obviously,
we shouldn't have. We had more yards. We shouldn't have,
but we did. And how many times have we said that about Iowa games? So that's the worry there. I think there is an X factor narrative here when it comes to this is our Super Bowl. I mean, this is literally the Super Bowl. Iowa just clinched the Big Ten West. This game genuinely means nothing to them. They're going to play Michigan or Ohio State next week in the Big Ten Championship in Indianapolis. So for them, this game is like, whatever. I mean, if they lost it, it literally would not affect their season at all. So that's the argument. I think it's tough to make those narrative arguments, but it's a really strong narrative argument considering how well Nebraska played in the home games this season, especially the defense. I mean, Maryland shut down that Maryland offense, and we saw how good Maryland looked this weekend against Michigan.
Yeah, they scored over 20.
Right.
And our defense forced multiple turnovers.
The defense can make it work.
If you can force 3 turnovers against Maryland, you can do it against Iowa.
Offense make it work.
I think yes. I think Chubba makes me excited. What are you thinking? What's your prediction?
It's a tough question, man. It's a tough question. I genuinely think everything points to that we should win this game except for special teams, and then you have to trust that our offense isn't going to turn the ball over. But I think we will. It's probably going to be fumbles. It may not be picks. I don't know. We may not throw the ball, but it might be fumbles. I'm going to take us to lose. I'm tempted to say 13-10. I mean, that would be so on brand and just would be a horrible end to this sad, 4 games. But I'm going to go 10-6. I'm going to go 10-6.
I don't think our defense gives up a touchdown this game, Husker Nation. I think they're locked in.
I mean, they may not give up a touchdown, but if Iowa gets the ball, given to them inside the 10-yard line, that might be enough. That's all they need. So that's what makes it tough. I'm going to go 10-6 in a really, really depressing one. I really hope that's not the case. I love the narrative. I mean, the narrative for Deacon Hill to fumble 3 times and we win this game 12-9 or something would be so fun. And obviously unbelievable. And it would be the first bowl game in this channel's 7-year history, which would be outrageous. So that's what we're playing for this weekend. There's too many ifs from my end on the offensive side to really bank on it. And that's where the bottom line is. So drop your comments down below. We want to hear your predictions for this game. And of course, I want to shout out the winner of our Discord predictions last week, which was Husker Fan 22 with his 24-13 Wisconsin prediction. So pretty good prediction right there for him, man, unfortunately. And obviously join the Discord so you can be in on this week's prediction. You know what? We're going to give away a Homestead hat to the winner of this Iowa game prediction. So get your predictions in for the game. Whoever's most accurate gets a Homestead hat. And check out the HOMESTEAD Store while you're at it. We've got a lot of good feedback. Some of the designs are only available this season. So you're running out of time. So get over to HOMESTEAD Store, obviously, for the holiday seasons as well. It's a great gift, and they're incredibly comfortable. Let's just say that.
So true.
Thanks for hanging with us. But as always, guys, I'm Josh. That's Caleb. This has been Big Red Homestead, and guys, we will see you next time.
Go Big Red.
Go Big Red, baby.